Welcome to the Pivotal Pod, a conversation between two watchmakers about all things watch related. My name is Theren, and next to me is Thomas, my partner in crime. In this episode, we have On the Bench and Myths and Legends. Let's just dig in. What we have on our bench that we worked on recently that we find interesting. Today we're talking about, or I'm bringing in the Vulcain Cricket.
Right.
So recently I did a Vulcain Cricket. They re-released, I think Vulcain went down during the quartz crisis, maybe?
Yeah, that's not exactly
it's
not exactly news.
Right. What I'm saying is they actually resurrected the brand. I don't know if you know.
They did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this one that I worked on.
That's news. There
right,
we go.
Exactly.
There we go.
But I don't know when they
so thank you for listening.
I don't know if when they did it, but the one I did the repair recently was a re-release of their vintage caliber.
Right.
So I don't know if you remember.
Right.
But I bought a Vulcain Cricket back in school.
Oh, I do.
Oh yeah.
I do remember.
Yeah, that was one of my projects.
Right.
School projects.
That was a really nice one, I remember.
I still have it, but it's the exact same caliber.
Right. So it's not the watch you're working on right now. It's not your personal watch.
No.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
The original caliber is called the caliber 120.
Okay.
So it's the alarm. Oh, for people that don't know what the Vulcain Cricket is, it is a alarm watch. It's called the cricket because when it chimes, the alarm rings, it sounds kind of like a cricket because it's basically a hammer hitting against the case. Basically.
If I remember correctly, it has two crowns?
No. So actually, kind of. It has a crown, the normal crown, and then a pusher.
Oh.
It's sometimes shaped like a crown, but sometimes a pusher as well.
Right.
And that's to kind of set it into alarm setting mode versus time setting mode.
Right. Yeah. Is there two barrels? Is it connected the same barrel or is it the...
So it's two barrels. When you turn the crown in winding mode, one direction winds the barrel for the movement, and the other, when you wind the other way, it winds the alarm barrel. Technically, after the alarm rings, alarm barrel would run down, right? But then the time would still keep running because that's on the separate barrel.
Right.
All right. So what I find interesting is that with this cricket, this new cricket, it's a different caliber. They even wrote a complete new caliber number. It's called a 52H RM. So it's completely different.
Rolls out of time.
Yeah, but it's exactly the same as the one I had. That's why I could identify it right away.
Right.
But they redecorated it.
Anything interesting? Anything nice?
I mean, the most obvious one is that they kind of skeletonized the two crown wheels. So that there's two crown wheels to wind the two barrels, right? So they skeletonized those, glued some screws.
Interesting. Are they actual bluing or is it just the color?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's real bluing.
What's been trend lately is instead of actually bluing the screws, some of the cheaper brands, they just paint them with the blue color.
Oh god, that's horrible. But
I
was kind of disappointed in this re-release. I mean, it kind of looks nice on the outside because some decorations.
But first question is is it exactly the same as the old one, or is it modernized in terms of it's sort of reminding you of the old one, but it's different movement?
No, it's pretty much the exact same.
It's pretty much exactly the same. Yeah. So it's the same thing as they did with 321 in Omega?
Yeah, so I don't know about the 321 because when I went for Omega training, I asked the trainer if the parts are interchangeable, and he said even he doesn't know. Yeah, so back to the Vulcain, I guess.
Right.
No. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the quality actually. The whole thing was decorated on the outside. The bridges that are kind of hidden, they're not decorated.
Right. I hate that. It's I think there's some companies that do it the worst part is like when they do it on the main plate.
Yeah.
So you can clearly see which part are visible from the case back.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's a display case back as well.
Yeah.
This watch, so everything that you can see is decorated, but then once the watchmaker kind of gets in, removes some bridges, then you see a bunch of stuff.
So there's like a bunch of these decorations, like Geneva stripes or like perlage.
Yeah.
And you can visibly see them on the case, on like when you have a see-through case back.
Yeah.
So what happens is like you want to see all those decorated parts.
Yeah.
You want to see everything shiny and everything grained and to have some sort of texture, basically.
Yeah.
In the older times, it used to be used as a countermeasurement against corrosion, because the brass used to sweat, they used to crack, it wasn't that much quality, and the same thing goes for the bluing of the screws, because it used to rust. So they blew them because it prevent the steel from rusting.
Yeah, like a polished surface is harder to get rust on.
Right. So, but now they do it just simply to decorate the watch. It looks nice, and that's what we enjoy. But sometimes the companies take shortcuts, so they decorate only parts of the movements.
Yeah.
The parts that are visible.
Right.
And the rest is just simply, it's usually sandblasted or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's really like manufactured. You could see like a big difference between the polished part and unpolished part.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cheap. Not cheap, but
yeah. But I think it's also, even though I say that, it's also unfair to say that they're kind of cheaping out or something. You gotta look at the price range, right? Like for Vulcain,
that's true.
For Vulcain, they're maybe like 4K, 3K, 5K ish around. Might have to fact check that.
That's Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not in the high end watch range. So for what they cost, it kind of makes sense. But if you're talking about like a Patek, if you kind of remove a bridge of a Patek and you see that it's not decorated, then you would be kind of pissed.
That is true. Like there's a big difference between a company asking 4,000 for a nice decorated watch, which you sort of expect, but it's understandable that not everything is as polished as with the 50,000 watch.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little bit of a disappointment there. And then there was this one thing that was really interesting with this watch, because when I was in school and was servicing my own Vulcain Cricket, usually the Inca block jewels are an insetting and a cap jewel, right?
Right.
And the cap jewel is usually flat, and the insetting has a pivot hole for the balance pivot to go through, and it kind of runs on that cap jewel, right?
Right.
And it's a shock absorption system, right? But for this Cricket, the one I had, the vintage one that I had, is the cap jewel has kind of a where the face should be flat, it's diamond shaped, so it's pointy.
What?
Yeah.
And
I don't know why. I'm not sure why. It doesn't make a logical sense to me.
And I presume it wasn't pointy on your old watch.
No, it's pointy on my old watch. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like the vintage one, the original one, was pointy, and I've never seen that on any other.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I did.
Yeah,
few watches in my time, and I haven't seen that.
It's very interesting. But then this new one, it's also not flat, but it wasn't pointy. It had a dimple, like a little hole,
right?
Which I kind of seen. No, like a lot of.
Like the groove? You mean the groove, like around the?
Yeah, that's something else. Right?
That's something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is ones where there's a groove, cut like a circular groove, right? But the center is still flat. Right.
Just for the listener, the shock absorbers are basically, imagine them as Inca blocks are basically preventing, are absorbing the shocks when you wear the watch and you put a dent on the watch.
Right.
It basically absorbs the
shock. So so if you bump your watch, if you didn't have a shock absorption system, it could potentially break the pivots. But with the Inca blocks, the pivots kind of have a flex. They kind of pushed inside the Inca block system, which is kind of protected with a spring, so it kind of just bounces a little bit.
Right, and these
Setting.
these Inca blocks are made out of rubies.
Right, sapphires.
Sapphire.
Right?
It's synthetic rubies,
Right.
but they are really hard to manufacture and even harder to like cut into correct shapes.
Right.
So that's why we're talking about like when we see interesting stuff like this, it's always. So,
yeah, but even like it doesn't make much sense to me. The shapes, or at least the vintage shape, doesn't really make sense, right? Why would you make it pointy? But yeah, the new one was a kind of a dimple, like I said. So the pivot runs in a rounded hole.
Oh. But isn't it just worn out?
No, it's like a big round.
Oh, it's a big one.
Yeah,
It's a big. Oh, because
Yeah.
sometimes you see like when you have a
Exactly.
flat
Yeah.
side,
Yeah.
you see like worn out dimple,
Right.
or like a dot, and that's
Right.
just from like.
Exactly. So listeners, if you don't service your watch for like 10, 20 years and the oils dry up, the pivot keeps running without oil, it kind of drills into the sapphire, the
Right.
ruby, and you get a little, also like a little dimple, and then your watch won't be running very well since it's the pivot's going to be worn out and is running not on a flat surface, so it's kind of
It slows the whole mechanism down because like the balance is made to be run on the flat side,
right.
and if you have introduce like a hole, it slows the whole thing down.
Yeah,
It's-
more friction, right?
It's a
Causing more
lot of friction. Like it's just making the whole timing a mess.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, that's what.
Interesting. That's an interesting one. I haven't seen that. Like I just recently saw the one with the groove. I think it was the first time I saw it here.
Oh yeah. So that groove is, I think, to keep the oil in place.
From like spreading,
Right.
so we can put like even more oil.
Yeah.
Even if it is like right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
That's what makes sense to me. So what we're talking about is instead of a dimple, it's a circular groove, kind of cut a well, like in the olden days the castles were surrounded by
Right.
uh,
That's an interesting way to
right?
explain this. Yeah.
Kind of looks like that. The castles have a, what is it? Like a
The protection.
river, right?
Yeah. Right.
Protection, circular river around the castle where people can't really
Well,
cross.
Like a well
Yeah,
around.
Like
right.
a well, right?
Like imagine a small circle
Yeah.
around like a
Exactly.
targeting point.
So that's the other type of Inca block that the vintage ones.
For me, is always like ridiculous when you think about the size of the Inca block, which is like almost invisible by naked eye. Like you
Right.
can see it, but like it's even see through usually.
Oh yeah, when you drop them.
And then just imagine like grabbing that
Yeah.
and manufacturing a groove
Oh yeah,
exactly in the middle.
yeah.
Like it's just I'm not surprised no one does it because it's
Yeah, it doesn't make financial
and
sense probably.
financial and like even like the functional wise, like it's just there. It does a little bit, but it's not making or breaking. It's just interesting.
Yeah, so that's on
That's
the
on
bench.
that's on your bench, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Have you ever looked at the watch with the Roman numerals?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a bunch of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They're not so rare.
Right.
Have you ever seen the number 4?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you probably noticed that number 4 is written technically incorrectly.
I don't know if I ever noticed that. You mean it's different from the usual IV?
Right. Yeah. So in the Roman numerals, it goes 1 is 1 eye.
Yeah.
2 is 2 eyes next to each other.
Yeah.
3 is 3 eyes next to each
Yeah.
other. And then 4 is IV,
Right.
which means 1 minus 5.
Right. Yeah. Because
Uh,
5 is V. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's the Roman numerals that I know.
Yeah. But on most of the Swiss watches, they write number 4 with 4 eyes.
Huh. I think I've seen that, but I don't think is it more common than the IV?
Yeah, I think it's more common than the IV.
Really? Okay.
But
Okay.
I think it's close to 50-50, but yeah, I'm just guessing here.
Okay. As usual. This is a guessing podcast.
Right, it's a guessing game. That's why we call it myths and legends.
Right.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so I wanted to talk to you about like why is it
Okay.
Why do the companies use number 4 this way?
So the origin story.
Yeah. Do you know?
Nope.
Nope. Any
Not at
guesses?
I mean, it kind of makes more sense that it's 4 eyes, I guess. Like
Right.
Logically.
Right.
But then, yeah, it doesn't seem like it would fit the progression, right? Because X is 10,
Right.
IX is 9.
Yeah.
But if it's 4 eyes, then it kind of breaks the mold that it's supposed to go in, right? So
Right.
yeah, no, I don't know what the origin is. Tell me, educate me.
So there's basically few theories behind this. Like
Okay.
I'm gonna try to explain them to you, and
Okay.
then at the end we can all decide which one is true, which one we think it's like the
Okay.
most truest.
Sounds good.
So basically, one of the theory goes into saying that number 4 there was 2 ways of writing number 4.
Okay.
So even in the Roman times, like there was the proper way of the literate way, let's say,
Yeah.
with the IV,
Okay.
and then there was the simple way of
Okay.
the 4 eyes, which meant that, let's say, it would be like a slang.
Okay.
So like the people who would use it in normal language when they wanted to write something really quick,
Yeah.
they would use the four eyes. But when the book was written, it would be IV.
Ah, okay. Like
And-
formal versus
Right. Informal. There we go. That's the
Right.
correct word.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the word I was looking for. So, and then at some point they sort of merged. So that would be the original point.
Okay. So this is theory number 1.
That's theory number 1.
Okay.
Then the theory number 2 would be that it's the watchmaker's decision.
I think I like this already.
Oh yeah, I know you
Speak
would.
to me.
I know you would. So this theory goes about saying that it's all about creating the molds. You know that when you're creating a clock or a watch face,
Mhm.
especially for the clock, like in the older times,
Right.
like you have to make molds for each of the components on the dial, because you preferably want to cast them because
Right.
they're so big.
Okay.
And like the molds
Yeah.
are the most expensive parts.
Okay.
So you wanna try to use as little molds as necessary. And there is a way when you make a mold, you can make just one mold and cast it 4 times,
Mhm.
and then that means you would have all the necessary numbers
Yeah.
for the whole dial.
In
So that
one
way,
mold.
right?
Right.
And if you write it in an IV version
Yeah.
instead of using 4 eyes,
Mhm.
you would have V on the dial 5 times, which means you would have to use the mold 5 times, which
Right.
would make a lot of excess material.
Okay. I got questions about that as well, but let's
Right,
go on to
right.
theory number 3 first.
So theory number 3
Yeah.
is all about spelling. It's the God theory.
God's theory.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I like this one already.
This is basically you don't like that, right? So there is in the older time, like especially during the Roman times,
Yeah.
there was no watches, no clocks,
Okay.
but what they used was sundials,
Right. Yes.
and they also had a lot of gods. They didn't have one god,
Right.
but they had a lot of gods. And the king of the gods was
Mhm.
Jupiter. He was the god of thunder as well.
Okay. Isn't that Zeus?
I think Zeus and Jupiter are the same,
Oh,
but
really?
one of them is Greek and the other one is Roman.
Ah. Okay.
That's.
Right.
But
right.
we should fact check those things because there's same gods,
Right.
and basically when Romans took over of the Greece part,
Right.
they took their gods but they renamed them
Ah.
into their own. So, but yeah, that would be the thing.
Okay.
If not, I'm gonna cut this out.
You don't have to. Anyway, now you do.
Anyways, so yeah, so basically, the way they spelled Jupiter
Yeah.
was IVPITER.
Right.
So they would have the IV, and they were afraid if they use the IV,
Mhm.
the god Jupiter might not like it because it's
Mm.
too close to his name.
Right.
So they could be punished by him.
Right.
they
Putting
used it.
God's name on the dial.
Oh yeah, that's
How dare
probably
you?
heresy or something.
Yeah. Okay, so that's theory number 3, right?
Right, right.
Okay. Okay.
And then there is a fourth theory, or
Okay.
the IV theory.
Okay. It's just called IV theory. Okay.
No, it's what I call those theories.
All right.
But basically, it's the same thing, but with Louis XIV, the
Yeah.
Sun King.
Sun King. Okay.
Similar theory that it goes by Louis the 14th
Right.
didn't like that he could see part of his 14 on the dial. So he didn't like it because the way his
Right.
the way his name is written is Louis XIV,
Right.
and
So,
he didn't like that he could see his IV
okay.
on the dial.
So the last theory was afraid of angering the gods. This one is afraid of angering your ruler.
Right,
Kind of.
but
Or
if
the ruler not liking his name.
right,
Okay.
but if the ruler has the power of making the rules,
Yes. of
he's
course.
gonna forbid it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, he was kind of despotic enough to actually forbid the IV.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
these are the theories.
Right.
Which one do you like? Which one do you think is the most
Right.
likely?
I like 1 and 2 more. But
Okay.
I have questions on both. of
Okay,
them.
shoot. I'll try to explain them as good as I can.
Well, I don't know if they're questions. More like, okay, for 1, theory number 1 only works for 4. But logically speaking, if you're using IV as the formal and using 4 I's as the informal, then when you're writing informal, wouldn't you write VIII for 9 as well? Like, it should kind of all be consistent.
Right.
Is what I'm thinking.
Right.
So if there's no such thing as, like, do we have any records of VIII?
Strangely enough, I'm not sure if there are any records of that, but I'm pretty sure I know there are records of 4 being written like 4 eyes,
Yeah.
and not just on the clocks, but it was
Yeah.
written. You can actually see it on if you go to Rome. You can see it on a few things.
Right. But that's my whole issue with this theory. Because then, if you're using the 4 I's, then why aren't you using it with the other numbers that use the same, formal lettering?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and
Yeah.
I don't have a proper answer
Yeah,
for
I
this.
know. We're
but,
just discussing these
yeah,
theories.
I mean, you're right.
So that's what's preventing me from choosing this one
Right.
as the
Right.
end all be all theory. And then number 2, with the mold thing, watchmakers deciding, are all clocks at the time made in numbers? Are they one-offs or are they mass-produced, is what I'm saying. So if
think
you
all the
made
clocks-
1 mold, is it just for 1 clock?
Yeah, I think so.
So you're saying 1 mold can complete a complete clock face?
Yeah.
Okay.
For if you cast it 4 times, yes.
4 times, okay. And then if you use the IV version, you would have to cast, still the same, but you would have a lot of extras.
Excess, yeah. Or you would have to modify those molds, but still, there's no way
Right.
to depends. Like you have to give someone to make the mold, or you have to make it yourself.
Right.
And the way I see it, it's always there's X,
Right.
V,
Right.
and then 5 eyes,
Yeah.
and that's the whole mold. Because if you cut those into pieces,
Yeah.
you can and cast the whole thing 4 times.
Yeah.
You can fill the whole dial, and you
Okay.
have all the numbers you need.
Okay. Okay. I'm picking number 2 then.
Yeah, I like that one as well. Because even I think the original point might have to do something with the gods.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there is something to do with that.
I mean,
But
it's
then
the Romans,
I
right?
feel like it's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gotta have something to do with the gods,
But
right?
then I feel like some watchmaker didn't want to spend money on the mold, and I feel like he would just go to use this like as an
Watchmakers
excuse.
are cheap, you're saying?
Someone like 500 years before him
Right.
used the 4 eyes
Yeah.
as for the sundial or something like that. He would be like, "Oh, this is how we do it."
Right.
So that's my theory.
Okay. Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. I mean,
That's the one I'm
it's
choosing.
a mix of all these theories, probably. Right?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, number 2 definitely makes the most sense to me.
So I have a little game for you.
Oh joy.
I'm calling this game. Is it IV or is it 4 eyes?
Okay.
So I'm gonna give you 6 famous clocks,
Yeah.
and you have to guess whether they
6
read on a dial IV
Okay.
or 4 eyes.
Okay. I don't even know my clocks.
I know you don't.
You can.
That's the reason. If you
Good.
would have known, it wouldn't be a game.
You're gonna make me look bad. All right. Let's hear it.
All right. So let's start with the big one.
Okay.
The Big Ben in
Okay.
London. Does it read IV or does it read 4 eyes?
IV.
IV. Are you no or are you guessing?
I'm guessing.
Okay. All right.
Am I right?
It's IV. You're
All
right.
right.
1 point you.
I'm feeling, yeah, like my reasoning was it's English.
All right.
I don't know
Let's
if that
go
makes
with
sense.
Prague astronomical clock.
Prague. Where is that again? No, just kidding. Astronomical. IV. I'm gonna go with IV again.
Correct.
All right. Well, yeah,
2
look
points.
at me.
All
I'm
right.
gonna ace this thing.
Let's go for the next one.
Yeah.
Peace Tower in Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Yeah.
Okay, local. No, wait a minute. French owned. Okay, I'm gonna go with 4 eyes this time.
Interesting. You're correct again. I got 3
Look at
points. All right. All right. Let's go.
Too
with
easy.
Rajabai Tower in Mumbai. I don't know
Okay.
if I said it correctly. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with IV on this one.
Interesting. Another point.
Oh,
Nice. Nice.
Look at me.
St. Mark's clock in Italy.
In Italy. This one's gotta be a 4-eye.
Correct again. Look at you. All right. And the last one would be
Jeez.
Grand
Pressure's on. Okay.
Wait. So the Grand Central Terminal in New York. You know the one?
New York.
That's
Yeah.
the bubble in the middle.
This one's gotta be IV.
No, it's neither.
Shit!
It's neither.
It's neither. Oh, what? God damn it! It's not even Roman numerals.
It has the modern 1, 2, 3.
You can't do that.
But good guess. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you got all of them right except the last catch.
No, that doesn't count. But okay. Yeah, my reasoning was, English versus like kind of French.
Really?
European. Yeah.
Interesting. Should I put something in from Switzerland? That's true. But there's no like famous Swiss.
There's one of the clocks in Zurich,
Mm,
the big tower clock.
right.
I don't know what it's called.
Right.
It's I don't know. I don't know if it uses IV or 4 eyes. But anyway, that was my kind of reasosoning. Oh,
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
too
you
easy.
all contestants for playing, and see you next time.
What's my prize? Wait a minute.
Nothing.
Thank you for listening. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe, follow us on
The Pivotal Pod at gmail.com. If you have any questions or suggestions, or if you have
comments. You like us, don't like us.
if you don't like Theren's face on the radio.
No, that's not possible. But yeah, follow us on @thepivotalpod on Instagram as well. Leave us your comments.
Thank you for listening, and have a good one.
Bye.